All right, everybody, welcome to Open Studio with Kristen Jeffers. Today, you're going to be reflecting with me on Juneteenth and what does that mean right now. But I'll be right back. Watch with me our lovely opening music here. Come on, opening music. Opening music. Yeah, go grab that coffee. Do everything that you would normally do, and we'll be right back in a second. Hey, and welcome back. Our welcome. If you're just joining us, I'm Kristen Jeffers. I am the Kristen Jeffers of the Open Studio. Pronouns are right there, and you can follow me at Black Urbanist. Some of you are already watching this on my Twitter. Some of you are patrons, and I really appreciate that. If you aren't already one, go ahead and go over to Patreon. Some of the things I'm going to talk about today are going to be there for you on Patreon, so you can get a sense of why and how and what, and get that affirmation, get those tools for resilience. But today, I went back and forth a lot with what we're calling today in light of the holidays, in light of everything that's still going on, and in light of me making kind of a shorter email. And in turn, this live stream might be a little bit shorter. Hence why we got started a little bit early. I know some of you are just starting to come into the room. Usually I start right now. But I'm giving y'all a chance to come into the room that we are going to be talking about. For those of you on LinkedIn, we're going to be talking about, yes, that post that you've seen circulating around. And of course, checking in on how we're doing with our Pride celebrations and checking in with ourselves. Before I get started, and once again, let me go over here, just put up the things. So this is going to be kind of a two-part episode today, and I want to encourage my Black and queer siblings, especially my Black ands, Black ors, hang in there, hang on the tape. We're going to talk about what to do as a co-conspirator, but for my Black folks who still want to have an extra day at time, if you're listening to Beyonce's and meditating what she said, she's kind of caught up with a lot of us on liberating ourselves, or maybe she's just extending what we've been doing in the last couple albums. I don't know. You all can tell me. You all can also tell me if you're gonna go ahead and buy that album or stream it when it comes out on July 29th. But today, we're going to stay in our Juneteenth framework. And we're going to talk about what I mean by liberating myself. I'm going to share specifically, kind of at least get us in the mood. And then later on in the cast today, I want to bring back, I clipped a couple things in this week's newsletter. And yes, there is a companion newsletter. LinkedIn folks, you know where to find it. It's right here where the video is. Patreon folks, it's also embedded. And likewise, if you are on Substack, it is called The Black Urbanist Weekly. It's also on my main one of my main websites, theblackurbanist.com. In a couple weeks, I'm going to be talking about how all this operation works, and there's going to be some streamlining that's happening. Right now, I'm still in the process of seeing where you all are picking me up, where you all want to find me, but in the process of liberating myself, that's also going to change. And as I said before, how are we doing on resilience? We're going to check back in with my 2020 article in Sierra Magazine where I talked about ways we can build resilience. I had other articles, and then I thought, let me just throw this back up here because I think we need to revisit resilience and how we show up and how we're planning to show up, and assuming that certain things are inevitable. and supporting each other as we show up, as we need to show up. And honestly, I also do these things, as I've said before. This is the urban planning platform I needed when I was figuring out why the world works the way it does, finding my way into using an urban planning frame to work through this, but also, of course, a media frame, as we are here today, a media frame, design frame, all those lovely things. So, and at the tail end, as I do now on this live stream, in case you've never seen me before, or in case you're brand new, and in case you've heard something that you want to explore further, I absolutely do more than this live stream, and will go through briefly how you can work with me in this calendar year. Now, some of the ways to work with me may extend into 2023, others may go away, but I will definitely make sure you know how to find me both on and offline safely and in a way that we both can mutually agree upon. So, yes, we're going to check on the resilience, and we're going to start with that liberation. So, siblings, how are we doing? How are we feeling? How are we holding out? And I can see some of your comments. I have moved to the terminal where I can see them in StreamYard, which is why you see StreamYard up here. Thank you, StreamYard, for being our main streaming apparatus provider. That's one way I'm able to come to you every week whenever I feel like it, or whenever and have it planned. And I'm able to put in my own custom art, which is what you see there, the little birds. It's one of my many graphic designs that I have out there in the world. And I'll talk more about, how to get a hold of that, because that kind of comes under how to work with me. And then, of course, I've got my, Black Urbanist featured from Kristen Jeffers Media. Of course, Chris Patton is also a factor. So those are ways I have shown up in the world. And yes, those are ways that I'm working on making it so that instead of being forced to labor, I am offering labor to the world. I am offering myself to the world. I am being a person, and there is mutual attraction. I know for a lot of us this is still kind of woo, but if you were streaming that Beyonce record this morning, it's not that far off. If you were streaming some kind of gospel song this morning, or if you were listening to a meditation tape, I know you're right there with me, and I can see it. I know that many of you want to say things and you can't. You are in the middle of that liberation journey. And don't think I don't understand that. Don't think that I'm just out here thinking, and I'm actually going to make this big. In case you didn't see it. Now, Twitter folks, I know you didn't see this because there's one case where the tweet didn't actually leave LinkedIn. And it's also honoring one of my newer boundaries in only having things on certain social networks. Those of us who follow Son of Baldwin, Robert Jones Jr., know that one of the ways he decided to honor Juneteenth was to say, "Hey, no more social media." Ta-Nehisi Coates did that a while back. I know there's some of you who are not seeing any yields, who got on to follow me, and others. Some of us who have been doing this work for a while, and we've pivoted into other ways. Some of us who are more trained in media, or trained in planning, or trained in public health, or trained in all these things that overlap. And really, I'm actually going to take the banner off because the banner's kind of hiding the part we're talking to right at the moment. So yeah, we're going to break down basically this block. And if you're on LinkedIn, head over there and read it, and read some of the comments that are under it. Leave comments under this over here. Leave comments on this. Share it. Maybe the first step for you is to share something like this that has such a powerful message to it. Likewise, it is on my Instagram. You can grab the block, and feel free to tweet this video stream to somebody that needs to hear it. Even if all they can do, or all you can do right now, is to listen. We know that some of you can't quit. We know that some of you have obligations. Some of you have children. Some of you have elders that are dependent on. Some of you are the projects and the things that you do will fall apart. Some of your households will fall apart. We are not, even though we're in this shift of where people work and what people do, and decolonize ourselves, learning how to lay down and rest. Much like I know for me, even sometimes when I look at Map Ministry, I'm like, gosh, where is she? What is she saying? But it's really thinking about doing things not because we're forced to, but doing things because we want to be there. And so I'm going to unpack this first paragraph, and then we'll unpack the top for a little bit. And then I'm going to tell you how you can work with me to help me show up. And maybe, one thing for those of you, maybe you want to stay around. At first I said maybe don't stay around, but you might want to stay around Black siblings to see just some of what my business models are looking like. That little how to work that lives as a PDF and on my given name site, KristenEJeffers.com. Something else, go ahead if you haven't already, and you can buy a version of your name as a domain. Set that money aside because it does come up on renewal. I'm getting ready to renew this month. Buy a version of your name on this internet. And then if you are flexing well enough at your job where you got $300 sitting around there, go ahead and throw a trademark on it or something that you can trademark. But it's like many of you are, I mean, even those of you who work for like these X name and associates or some weird kind of like random name, they got it trademarked. Ask your HR, ask your partners and principals what they got going on as far as like creating a container around where they are. It's there. So yeah, hang around towards the end. Maybe you'll pick up some ideas on how to do this liberation thing for yourself, or head over to the comments on the various social media, start hollering and talking. Well, maybe not hollering, like Southernness is coming out right now, Southeastern United States, Black American is coming out right here, but definitely talk to in a reasonable way folks you find in these spaces to see what you can do if you're in this situation where you are the only one or one of a few, or you're only talking about Black stuff, or whatever you're doing right now is actively destabilizing these liberation efforts. The other thing I wanted to talk about with specifically around the Juneteenth is that, and I'm going to just go back a little bigger. For the longest time, especially when we first got the federal holiday last year, it really just, I was just like, and you might have seen me not do anything just to say, hey, I'm here, just resting. That's the tweet. And honestly, this year I deliberately, in order to honor this rest practice for myself as a Black descendant of enslaved folks, deliberately did not do as much work. The newsletter is shorter, and I'm working hard to make sure this video is shorter, and there's less slides in it this week, and some of there are other slides that I've already prepared, because that's what it's meaning. It's a bell. It's a warning. It's a, okay, we're pausing today. Why are we pausing? Because we are definitely not free. There are absolutely people in bondage, and whether it's the 13th Amendment's provision, if you're charged with a crime, you can be re-enslaved, and of course, being accused of and convicted of a crime can still be subjective in some places, and hence why we have overrepresentation of African Americans and people of color. Like, especially the darker you are, the more likely you are to be incarcerated or incarcerated for long periods of time. Likewise, there are industries, and that's another reason why I'm really working around and thinking about textiles and the textile industry, in addition to it being my hometown business and how it shaped my hometown, and whether or not some of those folks, including white folks, were free of their need to labor or not. I also wanted to think about that aspect. So there's that block. And then I just, yesterday also, it was very interesting. And my twos are very, very important for me. The number two, hopefully, the number two is very important for me. And I just wanted to make this bigger. And this is my 9th Father's Day without my own birth father. Yes, I have other father figures who have stepped in. They're still understanding me as I make these transitions and changes. Some of them I don't talk to as much as I would want to. Some of them, the strain is there. But for many of you, and I've seen throughout the year, and of course living in a disease pandemic where so many folks who have lost amazing Black father figures did not live to see Juneteenth 2021 or 2020, or maybe Juneteenth of 19. Those of you who are Texans, who have been celebrating this, who have been honoring this day in a specific way. And of course, I want to shout out to the folks who are in Greensboro who have been bringing a version of a Juneteenth celebration. Those of you who have been working, many of you who do stuff around Kwanzaa, many of you, Juneteenth has been the summer thing that y'all do in lieu of the 4th of July for years. 4 years. And so even though that wasn't something we necessarily did in our house, like we were more of celebrating the 4th of July as a celebration of us being a Black family, coming together as a family reunion. Dad and I used to go to the Downtown Fun 4 Festival and together, and clearly, we've been on adventures already. And of course, yesterday in the United States, in addition to being Juneteenth, well, actually Sunday, in addition to being the actual June 19th, was also Father's Day. Now, the federal observed holiday, the bank holiday for us, was yesterday, June 20th of 2022. But for, you got a bank holiday, it falls on the weekend, a lot of things are happening. Some of us had dinner with our fathers. Well, in my case, I took some time and I've been pulling out pictures and I've been remembering his memory and doing some form of ancestor reveration. Not a full blown, not the full things that you do. And if anybody's interested in that, I have a wonderful cousin who just put out a book and does all this kinds of work. Shout out to my cousin Phyllis Jeffers Coley, Diasporic Soul. Look her up. We will be talking about her and that book on another episode. But I wanted to honor this moment and really think about how interesting it was that Black liberation and a day that many celebrate an element of parenting. Now, of course, as we get outside of the binary, thinking about parenting and which parents and how they show up in the world, there's a lot of complications there. And once again, these holidays, these days that we stop and start, they're times to kind of take a bell for ourselves. So if you couldn't relate to anything going on this weekend as a Black person, don't feel bad. If you're still healing through, family stuff, feeling like you're Black enough, feeling like we're free for real, then that's why I'm here for you. Of course, I want to definitely shout out my partner. We have been very busy. We are busy tonight. We've got some more stuff to do, and it's an honor to be with someone that will wear your business t-shirt. So I had to pull this one out of the vault. This is definitely not a previous iteration of my business, but definitely a previous iteration of her business. And of course, those of you who had the treat of seeing us speak together last week for our peer organization Indo Black, talking about health disparities. So many of us don't get liberation in our bodies because we're having to deal with so much health trauma and so much trouble. So yeah, definitely find your people, find your partners, your family or not, like get all the folks together that you need so that you can get through these times and find your way. And of course, thanks, babe, for being there for me and doing what you do to allow me to do this program. Let's see here. And I threw this up here. When I took this picture and she took this picture, this is from our trail walks that we take. We don't take enough of, haven't been taking enough of them in 2022. Definitely want to get back into them. This was in September of last year. I had posted this before, and I had posted this to tease many of you on social media about living this life, living a life that you get to choose your schedule, and thinking about what that means. And even if that choose your schedule is half days, even if it's the particular days, even if it's like when the custody is happening, like even in times constrictions, European white times constrictions, I want y'all to know, and I want y'all to know in your heart that there is a way to make this easier for you. There is a way to make your essential work easier for you. It may be the choice of not listening to certain conversations when you're in the work building. It may be the choice to not entertain certain complaints. whatever it is. Because sometimes, we do these walks and then we go right back to doing work. Sometimes I know in this time period, I was definitely working on a very intense contract. So I was actually doing some work somebody had me on deadline for. So those of you out here with time clocks and deadlines and everything, especially those of us who also share those letters, and then maybe some other ones, doctors of all kinds, and all these things that people tell you can't do this, can't do that, don't have the time, whatever. Make make this pause, make this observance, make this day of remembrance. Think about the things that our ancestors could not do, that our ancestors had so little choice in doing. And yet, we are not in a perfect situation. But I want us to take at least this moment, even if this moment right now, listening to the sound of my voice and watching this live stream is your break today. Please start incorporating joy breaks, and don't let anybody tell you that it is impractical. Um, I love to say that somebody dreamed up slavery. It's awful to think about, but what we do starts up here, and no matter what are our capabilities, like I know some of you are reading my words right now, some of you are listening because that's all you can do, but there's something going on up here, regardless of if you can put that out in the world, convey it, or kind of see it reflected back to you, or have like what is commonly considered as vision and hearing or whatever. There's a version of this. And I know I talked about creating a village, and yeah, finding your elders, finding your peers, finding your lovers, and then ultimately centering yourself, and you being the proverbial home, your body being the proverbial home and the proverbial safe place, and everything you need to do that. And I'm going to be that person over here on this side of things, harping on that, because oftentimes it is charged upon us to go into communities, especially communities that mirror the ones that we've grown up in or grown up around, or have some sort of ancestral or close relative tie to. And we have to tell them, yeah, y'all, what you're doing doesn't matter and it doesn't care. So that is why I want to spend a moment for everybody else who might be listening. One, I wanted you all to hear what we are doing for ourselves to get ourselves together. And that is, it's going to be times up for us to just tolerate any and everything out of you all in our lives and in our work. We are not here just to be your flunkies no more. We're not going to do that. And 2 years ago, many of you made promises. Many of you saw a very violent act on a black body and made promises to make life better for black bodies. Even though some of y'all made promises for people of color bodies, even though that was specifically a black body that was oppressed. There was also a person of color observing and complicit in that activity. That is where this resilience is coming in. And when I wrote this Sierra Club article, we were still processing what that meant. And I wanted to bring this back in because this is my invitation for y'all to dream. This is my invitation to say, okay, how are you prioritizing outdoor gathering spaces? Because this was the summer before our vaccines hit. This was the summer before we realized that we were going to go through these waves. We weren't all going to emerge at the same time. I know many folks are fatigued at the resistances and at and our resilience is being pushed and it's being taxed. But just like the person who illustrated this, created this little kind of, I love it because it's like a little future in a bubble. There's so much dystopia floating around. We are in many ways living in dystopia. But those of us who have power and influence and access in the building trades, in local government, in state, and even federal government, it's been great to see all your Juneteenth observances, or at least saying the name or offering paid time off. or, many of you have been showing folks like Opal Lee and other organizers in local areas. You've been showing, like, people have been showing like deeds of sale. And if you're looking at some of those deeds of sale, some of y'all are seeing that we're not that far removed. We're talking in rough, and in some cases, the civil rights movement is what ended slavery in some states for real. There were so many people who were still not aware that they had access, and so many folks to this day that are, because of the way our world is situated, we depend on things like fast fashion. Unfortunately, our computer materials are mined in a way that is not, the people are in those mines are in bad situations. This is a time to support these workplace unions. This is a time to support renewable materials beyond even what LEED is requiring. And this is a time to really get to know how LEED can work for you and go beyond that. It's just a time to be listening to your community elders. Don't just stop today or yesterday. Don't just stop this week. This is a process, and I had debated on doing a full-on check-in on that performative ally post I did a few weeks back. If you're curious about that and you're on LinkedIn, search for "Are you being more than a performative ally?" We all many of us who do this work differ on where we set the bar for allies. But ultimately for me, it's like, are you building that resilience? Are you facilitating this world that I've built in? Are you supporting efforts, like I mentioned, like the efforts of like Black Church Food Justice Network, or all these different mutual aid networks, the plant apothecaries, people doing the clothing swaps. One of the cool things at our big Pride Festival this year, we didn't bring out a bunch of clothing, but they had a clothing swap there. Like, so many of our organizations that work with trans folks, youth, and adults, that's a great place to start donating your clothes, because instead of it going directly to the landfill, at least people get to go in and sort some of your better clothing. It might be good for you to go to consign some of your clothes, because then it turns into money, and those clothes can be resold to someone else. This is not a vintage, but I probably at a certain point in time, if I can't wear this anymore, this is a I've had this garment since like 2010, and it's held up, and it continues to show up. It continues to be a staple. Many of you I know are into these capsule wardrobes, and they don't all have to be like black and white or dull colors. It can be something else that's in your wardrobe that you like a whole lot. It can be, y'all continuing to hybrid your office, considering whether or not you need a full office, or maybe you can run your firm out of like one of the co-working spaces, or have folks in the co-working spaces have these collaborations with people to have the screens and everything. Just thinking and being creative, as many of us are. We consider ourselves creative. So getting up here till about 30 minutes. So I want to talk about an opportunity to work with me. It is not this week. Many of you have seen the tweets from Shoutout America, and you're going to see this inside the newsletters leading up until July 12th. But I wanted to make sure that I verbalize in every area I can verbalize, as well as, I retweeted the main tweet today, that you can not only come to this summit, on this next equity forum that's focused on cultural displacement. Yes, we are going in on cultural displacement and how to rid ourselves of that. You can do that. It's going to be on, let's see, what is the date here? I believe the date is not on my little block here. But if you go to the smartgrowthamerica.org, there's all the information you need, and the information will be linked in my future newsletters. It'll be on the SGA site, but there's still an opportunity right now to apply to come to a workshop for free, where myself and my co-presenters will walk you through and talk you through the project that you're doing. And if you apply and you don't get in on that, please do apply to let SGA know that you're interested in this kind of work with them and me and other people. I am making myself available. I'm going to say afterwards, go ahead and get your stuff together, apply through the SGA link. And then we're going to work through some of whoever, because some folks are going to be able to get that technical assistance during this summit in July. Others of you will work together to reach out, but that is one key way that you can start thinking about working with me. But there are, of course, other ways to work with me this year, and I want to go through that. And then I'm gonna log off and enjoy the rest of my Tuesday. Um, I got yarn next to me as I always do, and I want you to take this moment. This is a good time. Those of you who are on the East Coast, it's about 4:30. And it is the solstice. It is the longest day of the year. It's you gonna have the sun. So maybe if it's not too hot, if you're not burning up, or even if you are, just for a moment, go out there and feel that sun and let it flow in. And really, those of you who have had enslaved ancestors, those of you who are actively working to make life better for those of us who have enslaved ancestors or who are breaking up enslavement globally and breaking up these systems, let's be creative and be thinking. So how can you do that with me? How am I doing this? This is the part where you can get some business model ideas. But yeah, definitely after this, go outside, go play, do something positive, do something fun, get your kids involved, get your elders involved, get your partners involved. Maybe just do a bed dance if you're bedridden today. Whatever, however, whenever. Let's just lift up and raise up joy on this longest day in the northern hemisphere. My southern hemisphere, folks, light them candles, hug yourself tight, and really receive and think about who we are and what we're doing. So, of course, if you're watching this, you know who I am. I'm Kristen Jeffers. I've been trained as a media person. I've used my media skills primarily in tandem with urban planners now for over a decade. Uh, and I have had bylines, written bylines in several major newsletters. I have been featured as a commentator in the Washington Post and New York Times. New York Times feature is still alive. The other one in the Washington Post is not, but it happened. Trust me, it happened. Google me, really deep Google me, because for some reason Google believes that I didn't do that. But you can also commission me for articles. You can reach out to me as a commentator. Now, send me an email at kristen@theblackurbanist.com. Google has also decided I don't need a Maryland phone number anymore to match to my North Carolina phone number. So email me and then I will get you some contact information. Even if you're on deadline, shoot me an email, shoot me a text if you do have any kind of phone numbers. And then also, I've been on your NPR station, so yes, I can absolutely speak as I'm doing now right here. I have my little headphones. I got my blue snowball right over here. I am ready to go, as you see here. Yeah, and I also have a newsletter, the Black Urbanist Weekly. I also have this live stream, and I am happy to announce what you're doing and where you're doing it within reason. Generally, folks that advertise, or they're advertising requests for proposals, they're advertising job openings, especially if you're actively looking to diversify your office. If you are ready to do the work in making your office a friendly space, making your design practice a collaborative space, building on bringing in community folks, or if you are a community business, like if you are a food truck vendor, or if you're any of my yarn siblings who are watching, I'm happy to throw your stuff up here. I don't know who else is a yarn person here or craft person, but if you just want to just put your name on my stuff, if you want to support me that way, and we do the advertising, you lock in 4 weeks, it's $75 a week. And honestly, the sliding scale is not as intense as you think it is to start with doing just 1 week. Now, 1 week is more expensive, so I would say just go ahead. And sometimes it takes a while for people to figure out what we're doing here. I think this is about the 6th or 7th live stream that I've done now, so hopefully you are used to it. And of course, I've changed days. This is our second week that's on Tuesdays, but yeah, on Mondays, your name will go out in the newsletter. On Tuesdays, your name and your event and your business will go out to people. And especially if you are doing things around certain holidays, and especially if you are a community member. Our next kind of big awareness month, we were going into BIPOC mental health month, as well as disability pride is coming up. I definitely want to make sure I amplify your events. And if you're with a major organization that has that kind of budget, that really helps support me in a very small way. You'd be surprised how resourceful I can be with some of your ad dollars and how much I'm happy to put you on. So yeah, reach out to me if being on the newsletter, which right now the newsletter is being open. I've got a 35% open rate. People do like what we're doing over here, and the numbers grow each day as far as people come into the newsletter. If you are interested, like this is one way, the fact that I've really gotten better with crocheting, I'm proficient enough to teach it. And if you're interested in learning a skill, like a survival skill, like if you're really this year and thinking about Juneteenth and thinking about liberation and freedom, it's got you worried about would you be able to survive in the woods? Um, let's talk about doing a virtual or in-person crochet. Yeah, it's $250, but that you means you get to bring a friend. And honestly, black folks and folks of color, let's talk about an even more special deal with that. I just need that 250s to compensate for my time. And if there's a mixture of you bringing your supplies and me showing up at your facility, or you having a budget for me to do professional development with a little bit of a creative touch, that is an excellent way. Also, if you need affirmation, remember I have an affirmation worksheet for you. And if you want to talk further to me about that, then you can go on my givenname.com, KristenEJeffers.com, and you can go and book on Calendly, and we can work through that worksheet together. And if you need some solidarity help, if you want it ready to, Juneteenth has inspire you to take on a big project of making your workplace friendlier, making your community stronger. Let's book me, and let's use this moment in time in exchange. Me owning the means of my income and getting you to the point where you own the means of your production, and that form of liberation, and getting past capitalism. We still making money. We're still creating a wealth, and we're attracting abundance, but we're not doing it on top of somebody. And absolutely, if you're tired of being the person stepped on, or you're tired of having to step on people, let's talk about that through a workshop or a one-on-one coaching session. I'm still happy to come and do the keynotes. As I always remind you, I one-way mask in public. You very rarely will see the bottom of my face in the actual earth of the streets. But I am happy to come in, and y'all all put your mask on so I can you can see me, you can see the corners of my face go up while I'm on the stage, as I am here in 2018 for the WABA Trails. I think it was a Washington Trails Summit. I can't remember. It was a Trails conference. It was here in the DMV. A lot of you all who do the trails and things adjacent to the trails, you were there. You were in the building, and I'm happy to do things like that. I'm also happy to beam in just like this. Come in here and use Zoom creatively and do all that slides and stuff just like this, or do a pre-recording for you. Those book a 60-minute clarity call for that, so we can iron out the details of what my honorarium will be. If you want to add a workshop, I will be transparent here in that when I was talking with SGA, we talked about adding the workshop and me speaking. So if that's something you're considering, if you're trying to still do a good hybrid mix of things, or if you're committed to being that one conference, and I just need one conference out here to show up folks what it's like to do a wonderful hybrid event, a wonderful event that takes into account all types of needs here. Definitely let me be your keynote. Definitely let me show up on your panel. I'm happy to do so. And I'm happy to have a clarity call to talk about what the terms of that are. Just note, I will not be showing up on your link if there is not a signed contract, or if there is not an agreement of an honorarium. I only do this on honorarium. It does not matter what the platform is. This is, once again, another opportunity. If you need to talk to somebody, you can also, in that clarity call, we can talk about strategy on how to pay my fee. So say you're a student group at HBCU. We all know y'all be going through it and figuring out how to raise money and stuff, but it's probably somebody in your community. Or say you're in one of our Greek letter organizations, are very well established, like Urban League or like a Junior Urban League, or there's somebody, one of your churches or somebody can come together and make sure that my time is compensated for, so that I can just block off time. I can bring some food in here. I can make sure I have what I need for the month, so I can dedicate the time to you and you getting a good head start. I also have a very special student lecture series, a student focused one. So definitely, I know y'all are on break, but this is the time. You're coming back into the fall. This is the time to go ahead and book me for the fall and winter. Now, this is one thing that will extend into 23. I will be available for keynotes and panels. Is one of my favorite things to do. Hence why I try to do this every week, because I kind of miss being out there with y'all. I do. And then, yes, project teams, communication plans, public engagement, like help me coming in to help you do your story maps and your stand-ups, like you see here me pictured with my stand-ups. This is from our project in Birmingham at Pratt Park. Absolutely same thing applied. I'm going to be one-way masked, and I would ask that you do so as well, and especially if we're going into vulnerable communities and we're trying to learn more about them. And I also ask that you are ready to follow it through. I know doing things around ADA compliance, and if you've got lawsuits around your inability to do equity work right in the past may complicate things, but go ahead and get that attorney on the team and get me too, and we'll all work together and we'll make this work for everybody. So I am going to make my face smaller. I am going to make this smaller, and I'm going to put some nice outro music on for a few minutes. It is, once again, I'm Kristen Jeffers. It's been a pleasure to have you at any point in time during this live stream, or if you're watching this replay. Feel free to go back and forth. Feel free to go to previous things. And of course, if you don't need to hear this tail end, feel free to just move away. But thank you for listening. And if you want to do all the little quick donation things, and I'm also, of course, the GoFundMe is still active. The capital campaign, that GoFundMe money turns around really quickly, and it's allowed me to keep my domain running. It allows me to continue to come to you here on StreamYard, Canva, Adobe Suite, all those things that are simple. And with me being a person that has somewhat limited mobility, yes, you'll see me out in the world, but it definitely takes a little bit more effort. It allows me to do it in a way, and you can just, gift me. I mean, it's my half birthday was last week. I relish that being in the summertime. But anyway, I will see you next time. Subscribe to the email, book me, tip me, invest in me, and I'm gonna find some nice little legally available music to me. We'll go back to the little music we started on, and I'm gonna play us out here, and in about a minute or so this feed will go away. Thank y'all all, and as I said before, go out and play, go out and do something fun, go out and do something for yourself and for your peoples. Until next time, folks.